Hello everyone, welcome to this new vlog. This is the vlog from Lisbon and I'm sorry that I'm posting it so late, but I finally sat down and I'm wrapping it up right now. So I'm just gonna tell you the things that I did, things that happened, and I hope you will enjoy the vlog. Give it a thumbs up if you do and don't forget to subscribe. I got to Lisbon on the 7th of January. I arrived in the afternoon. I was just very tired and exhausted, so I didn't even go outside anymore. Yes, I did have to get some food, but I only did that very late when the store was about to close already. But yeah, I had to force myself to do that also, because if not, I wouldn't have had any more food for that evening. But after I arrived, I just settled in, took a shower, and I was just laying in bed, being on my phone, talking to friends, and I really just needed to relax a little bit. And then on my first day, I did a walking tour, so I had to walk to this other hostel, because that's where the tour started. And also that day, the weather was super weird and it changed a lot. So at one point, I had to wear my hoodie because it was cold, and then the sun came out, so I took it off because I got too warm. Then it even started raining a little bit, then the sun came out again. Yeah, it was just very flexible. Let's put it like that. The weather was very flexible that day.
This was discovered like 2015. Definitely nice to mention. People will say that it's actually the oldest house in the whole neighborhood. Estimates go from 350 through to 450 years. Eventually the Romans took over in the 1st century, and this is when they would be calling it Policipo. They ruled for about 400-500 years, where in the 5th century we have the Visigoths taking over. The part of the tower coming down, that I said was coming in the middle of the square. You can actually see part of the square right in here.
And after the walking tour, I went to this vegan buffet with Victoria, the girl I met at the walking tour, and it was so nice. So I'm definitely recommending you to go there and check it out if you're ever in Lisbon. It's this place. Then we both went back to our hostels, we parted ways, and back at the hostel I took a nap because I was super tired. But in the evening I went outside again, but I also had to force myself to do that, as I didn't feel like it at all, unfortunately. I remember before I went outside, I was sitting on my bed and I was just sitting there. I was like, oh, I don't really want to go outside now, but also I want to use the time that I have here. I want to take advantage of it. I don't just want to be at the hostel all the time. So yeah, in the end I got myself to go outside, still walk around for a bit. But then also it started raining later, so then I went back to the hostel anyways. Then the next day there was beautiful weather. It was around 15-16 degrees and I walked towards the sea and along the harbor.
I love you for those things you
After a while, I decided I'd walk to the bridge, this big bridge, the red bridge that resembles the one from San Francisco. That was a 1-hour walk, and I also wasn't sure if you can cross it walking to go to the Santuario de Cristo Rey, to this huge statue that resembles the one in Rio. But yeah, turned out you can't. You can only go over that bridge with a means of transport. So I could have taken the bus, or yeah, you can obviously go by car, but there was no way to walk, unfortunately. But by the time I arrived there, and then I also still walked upwards, like up a hill a bit, and then I also had this beautiful view. But then yeah, I was super exhausted and I just wanted to go back, so I took the bus back to the hostel. I didn't walk all of that back. And then in the evening I went outside again to another vegan place. It was also very, very good. I ordered a salad and a pizza and I ate all of that. The salad was so good as well. I had it for the starter, and when the pizza arrived I was like, yeah, oh my god, I will not be able to finish this whole thing. In the end I could, and I did, and I was very happy with that. So this is the place I went to that evening. Also check that out if you're ever in Lisbon. Highly recommend. And after dinner I just kept walking around for a bit, and I also made a call with a friend before finally going back to the hostel. The next day after breakfast I went up to this park with a very nice view over the city. And then I walked back down and just walked around in the city center. I also went to the Pink Street, which is a famous street in Lisbon, but I didn't even know about it. I saw it on Google Maps a few days before, so I was like, I definitely have to go there and check it out. Also went to the Time Out Market. And then I got a postcard and it's so pretty. I love this postcard. Yeah, and then the next day I checked out the hostel. It was the day I was supposed to leave actually, but that's where the story continues. So I had to check out by 11, I think. So I had breakfast before that, then I went to my room again and packed my things, did the checkout, and then I still went up to the common area to sit there and to figure out what I would be doing, where I would be going, because I still didn't have any plan. I didn't have a clue where I would be going next, what the next steps would be that day. And I was also thinking about going to Vienna for 1 week before I had my flight to South America, because when I was in Lisbon I wasn't really doing well and I was pretty miserable actually. So I was like, yeah, I kind of just want to go home before, you know, just like going somewhere else just for the sake of traveling and seeing new places. So I was debating on that, and I was just so... I didn't know where I was standing. I was sitting at the common area, trying to figure things out, trying to make up my mind. Also, the Wi-Fi at the hostel, especially upstairs in the common area, was shit. So it didn't really work up there, which means I couldn't really use my phone or my laptop or anything to book something. And I was also talking with a friend in that moment, and then she was like, well, maybe just go to a Starbucks, sit in there because they have good Wi-Fi, just get something there. And it was good that I did, because then, you know, I was out of the hostel. But to be honest, I also didn't really have the energy to think and to take action. I was sitting there and looking through Google Maps what were places close to Lisbon, preferably on the way to Madrid, so between Lisbon and Madrid, because I would have to go to Madrid anyways in 1 week's time to catch my flight. But then, yeah, I don't know, I didn't... It was, yeah... As I said, I had a very hard time figuring things out that day. So then, what happened next was like a miracle. Yeah, it's so funny. So at some point I also went on Instagram, and then an old friend of mine, who by the way I also met when I was traveling, had sent me a message on Instagram, and we hadn't been in contact for like almost 2 years. He replied to a story I posted from the Pink Street, and he was like, oh my god, you're here, you're in Lisbon. And turns out that he lives there. I didn't know that because he lived in Porto before. I knew that. So I was surprised when he was like, I live here again. I actually just recently moved back to Lisbon. I also told him about my situation and that I was struggling a lot with traveling right now. He was like, yeah, like in what Starbucks are you? And then he said I should just come meet him. So in the end, I went to his place and he cooked lunch for us. Also, I hadn't really eaten anything that day, just a banana. So then we had lunch together, and after that we also went to a band rehearsal of his. And also before we went outside, I was on my laptop trying to figure things out again, you know, like I was getting very stressed because obviously I was supposed to leave Lisbon that day and it was very stressful. But then also, of course, he offered me that I could stay at his place for at least that one night, so that took out a lot of pressure for me. But still, actually, I just wanted to leave and go somewhere else. And then in the end, I decided to fly to Vienna. In the evening, when we came back from the band rehearsal, I called a friend who lives in Vienna and I was like, do you think you could host me for a few days in Vienna if I came tomorrow? And she was like, yeah, of course. As soon as I had this reassurance that I would have an actual place to stay in Vienna, I booked the flight. And yeah, so then I stayed at my friend's place for that night, and the next morning I left for the airport and then I flew to Austria. So yeah, I obviously didn't film anything else after the clips at Starbucks. But yeah, that was my stay in Lisbon. In the end, I stayed for 5 nights instead of 4. So 4 nights at the hostel and one additional night at my friend's place, which I'm very thankful for. And that's also the amazing thing about traveling. You meet people. By the way, he's Brazilian. He's from Brazil. He's been living in Portugal for the past few years, and that's the cool thing, that you meet people from all over the world. You just have like this whole network, I want to say, of people around the world, and you will like always basically have a place to stay. You will always have someone you can go to. You know what I mean? Thinking about that, it's just crazy. what traveling and meeting people can do, what it can make happen. But yeah, so this is the end of the Lisbon vlog. Finally, I can present it to you and show it to the world. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next video. Bye! Hello from cutting the video. What I still wanted to add is like a little review of Lisbon, basically. Something I didn't really like is, first of all, that it was just too overwhelming for me in general, I think, the city, because there were always so many people, also a lot of cars, a lot of traffic, and the streets and also the sidewalks are very narrow. A lot of times you can't even walk next to each other on the sidewalk because they are so narrow. And also it always goes up and down and up and down, so you have to go upward a lot. It's like Lyon, because in Lyon it's the same. When I was there, and that was in summer a few years ago, it was so exhausting because it was always so hot, and then I had to walk upwards like the streets so much. And that's why I think I wouldn't want to live in Lisbon, like for those reasons. And especially also probably not go there in summer, because I think when it's like however many degrees outside, it's hot. I mean, walking the streets is exhausting in general, but then also when you have to do it under the heat, you know what I mean? So yeah, I still wanted to say that. I wanted to add that to like make the picture complete. But yeah, now I'm done. That's it.